Hey, good morning, everybody. All right. Let's take a look at the charts. Okay, so I haven't really had any time at all to really look at the charts. I've been working on my software and the charts, and some things broken, some things working, and still trying to get through all that. So um, haven't had a chance to really take a peek at anything, but we'll go through the same process that I do every morning. And yeah, let's take a look and let's see. All right, so get right into this. Let's take a look at higher time frame daily. Um, what do we see? Um, Still continuing from last week. Big push up. Sellers came down. They did push it down quite a bit. Buyers came back up, right? So we start to get that momentum back up here. Now, this was Friday. So Friday, pushed up. It looked like we were going to get the momentum. It hit this imbalance, pushed away. Sellers came back down. Now they did close below the buyers in the body of the candle, but couldn't quite regain the strength to keep it going down. So um, right now we're back with the momentum going up, mainly because we got beyond these sellers here. Um, so we're kind of back in the direction of the overall momentum up, and now our internal momentum has started to turn up also. So today will be pretty critical. What am I expecting today? Well, we've already come down. We've wicked all these buyers out down here. So we recovered back into this range. So I am predicting, looking at the chart, that, today my expectations tell me it should go and take this high. Now, the other two things that, are interesting on this daily chart is still an imbalance down here that hasn't been touched yet. So, of course, if today ends up closing bearish and we get below these buyers up here, maybe we start to track down here. But all signs, all signals to me, even though this candle still shows as a bearish candle, I mean, it's pretty close to being a doji bullish candle soon. So, um, yeah, so we'll kind of see how that works out through the day. That'll be maybe more important tomorrow as we get into looking at the rest of the week. News, there is a little bit of news later affecting New York market, 1 o'clock. There is some European news. I say 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock my time, which would be 8 a.m. Eastern time in New York setting. So uh, European news, 8 a.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. my time. So I'm in London time. All right. So that's our daily 4 hour. So on the 4 hour, um, we can kind of see here. Let's take a look. So we had looked at that area. Let's get rid of that. Had the big push up. Now this is pretty ugly because you've got, uh, buy candles, sell candles, buy candles, sell. So it's messy. It's not clean. But what we did have is buyers push up. If you generally look at the direction, not always all the alternating colors of the candle in direction, in move, we have up. Sellers did come back down. Buyers trying to hold this. We can fit this out just to see this move from here all the way up to here. And you see buyers have reacted around that golden zone area, pushing it back up. So, for me, critical points today, possibly in London, it's going to be two areas for me on this chart. It's going to be price gets down here. What does it do? And up here is kind of the first step. And obviously for me, second step here, can the buyers get control? I think buyers will prove a lot if they get above this fair value gap imbalance right here. Now, the 50% was already touched on this 4-hour. As you know, the 4-hour fair value gaps, I look for reactions out of lower time frame. I look for just kind of roadmap. There's lots of green imbalance, buy side imbalances on the lower time frames, which for now, obviously, you can see they match the momentum of lower time frame. Lots of buying action there. So, all right. So 4-hour, I don't really have anything that I would honestly say for me personally is like a good point of taking a trade right now. We're pretty high here. I would be looking at if the buyers can't take this candle, they wick it and come back down. They could be looking for a retrace down. So that really doesn't tell me too much, and this doesn't finish for almost 3 hours now. So, all right, let's look at the 1-hour. 1-hour could offer up some opportunity. So looking at a few things here, this fair value gap shows on the chart, but it's been primarily completely used. So it's not really something I would be looking at to really, take a trade from. Now, just like on the 4-hour, it's kind of the same area. You've got, of course, this area. Can they break through? Buyer side. And then down here, be looking at if it does come down here, what do the sellers do? Is it a wick and then move back up? And it's the same thing up here. Is just a wick above this big push down, or do the buyers get above here? If buyers get above there, then we can start to look at maybe them getting up and attacking these highs up here. So definitely be a challenge if the buyers can do it. But we haven't really had any retracements yet since like midnight Eastern time. So I would be expecting that London may bring it back down to get back into some area in order to either push it back up or continue the momentum down. So areas I'm looking at on this 1-hour, for sure, are going to be, let me make this bigger so everyone can see it. All right, let's mark these out so we've got them on other charts. So we do have a 1-hour fair value gap balance here. Let's load this. We're going to do 1-hour area. Okay. Adjust that a little bit. Okay. And then we'll do another one. We got another one right here too. I kind of prefer this lower one I'm marking out right now as like maybe a reaction or entry from. And we can kind of see if I take a fib and go from the low side to high side where we've been so far, you could see a golden zone entry is going to put you back in here if the momentum is up. We don't know if the momentum is truly up until these buyers take these sellers right here. If these buyers cannot take these sellers out, then I'm expecting this to come back down, which if the buyers from this move up can't take here, really puts a lot of questions as to, is this really good buying strength, or is this just the sellers allowing people to get back into the market and then they're going to slam them down to the very bottom? Questions we don't know yet. Obviously, we will know more as this 1-hour develops. We still have quite a bit of time on that. But we'll come back and continue to monitor. All right, let's look at the half-hour, 30-minute chart. Okay, so 30-minute chart. Well, let me go back to 1-hour just a minute here. So on the 1-hour, I'm not really super excited about this chart, but one thing we could mark out, because I'm going to end up probably seeing this on the 30-minute, is this giant move up, this big green candle. I'm just going to mark out the body because technically that's going to be like an order block. And we'll mark this out as a 1 hour order block. So, you know, if the buyers get up here and they get into this area, um, I would also expect some type of defense or reaction from this point. Uh, I think the risk is probably going to be way too high for me to take this kind of trade just blindly. Yeah. So 1 micro is $365. So really, that's too much. My budget's 200 on trades. So for me, no, I don't even have an entry there, but it is an interesting area for me. So maybe I have to go on lower time frames and look for imbalances or other areas. One area you could look at immediately, you have a pivot up here, and a pivot, like resistance 1 pivot. There's probably going to be sellers over here. Now, if you blindly took that, you're looking at, we'll say 155 for an entry, for a reaction. How Now, if there is sellers there and they react, I don't know how far they push it down. So, but something to think about and watch. And you're talking that's a pretty good healthy move for London to get all the way up there. Um, it will take some effort. So, but we'll leave that marked on the chart. Okay, let me go back to the 30-minute now. All right, 30-minute. So, okay, and this is kind of interesting. So I marked out a 1 hour imbalance here, but the 30 minutes actually a little bit bigger. It actually comes all the way down a little bit lower, which, it's interesting because if the buyers can take this high and show some strength in this move, I'm going to call it from here. That originates from here. As of right now, from here, this low, all the way up here to this high, a retracement back to VWAP is going to put you in the golden zone. And, you've got a imbalance here. So if the buyers truly have some strength and they can show something up here and then a retracement back down, this, I think, would be a great area to engage. This whole area in here, you can see this fib. I got 50%. If I'm looking to buy, I want to be below this 50% line, because for me, this move in this leg of price action, anything below 50% is going to be cheap in this leg, right? Leg meaning it starts from here, moves all the way up here. Just a leg of price action, kind of the term people use. So now, if I go along that same premise, anything above the 50% is expensive for me. So if I'm looking to buy the above the 50%, it may not be the smartest thing to do. So, because what am I expecting? Well, in this leg of price move, that the price does come all the way back and retrace probably to the 50%, where people are going to battle within this move. But most likely, it price will come back to the VWAP. Um, VWAP is always a destination for price to get back to, especially for big institutions. So, all right. So what maybe the interesting thing to mark on my chart would be I'm gonna put a 30-minute. I think I have a template for that. Yeah, 30-minute. Okay, so now I know I've got a 1 hour, and actually the 1 hour is smaller within the 30-minute. So now I have two pieces of information right here for a pretty darn good reaction. But one thing I have to also take into consideration is that if these sellers start to push down, they get below the buyers here, momentum, at least on this chart, would start to change for the sellers because sellers are in control. Here, they push down. If the sellers prevent the buyers from coming up and touching this line up here, then sellers are back in control. If they get back below this, I expect them to drive it all the way back down into this area. If the buyers couldn't achieve their goal to get above the sellers here, it does increase the risk on this trade dramatically, because I don't expect the buyers to hold it. But it's $100 to take that imbalance, like blindly, right at the first move into it. Um, for me, I think a good key level is going to be 50% of that, because of 50%, wow, look at that, puts it right pretty much at the VWAP. My stop though would most likely have to go at least beyond the candle that kind of drove the price up and out, right? So I'd be looking at maybe engaging here at the 50%, stop below here, $108. And I think there could potentially be more entries in there too. I don't mind an entry at the total bottom here of the fair value gap, um, because I still feel like all this in here is going to be maybe potentially push out. I always mark out like no trade zone, bad zone. And today, honestly, I don't really have too much of that. And I'll tell you why. Usually I'm always looking at POC. I'm always looking at VWAP. I'm always looking at these levels up here. This purple one is yesterday's. Well, let's go back to Friday. Friday's close. And then Asia session open up here. If anything, this area I think may be more of a junk zone, simply because POC from Friday and two big important lines. So if there was ever going to be something I'd mark out on this chart, it would primarily be this area here. But I'm not going to say I won't take any trades in this area, simply because things are pretty well spread out. We have big push down, big push up. But I just have to be careful around these areas. So it gets down here around VWAP. Yeah, I mean, I don't like trading around VWAP. I don't like trading around the POC today. It's just little things that I have to try to watch. And if I'm a buyer, I'm going to want to try to get the VWAP potentially around my entry, or entry maybe a little bit, lower than that, stop below. So at least I have some protection. Like hopefully the sellers come in, they hit that VWAP and they just bounce right out and go back to the top. So that's kind of my plan there. Okay, so we've got a couple entries marked there. And also remember, and you know what, let me go ahead and mark this too, just so we have it. So back to 30-minute chart for just a moment. Because this is like untouched 30-minute and a 1 hour imbalance. I'm going to mark this out too, because this line right here, although I don't know if I'd really take that for a reactionary trade out of there, it could actually be a target. Like I said, my entries can also be targets depending on the price action, what it's showing us. So we'll mark that out so we have it. That'll be on the chart. Let's look to the top side real quick here. So on the 30-minute, we've got this massive gap right here, from here all the way to here. That's, I guarantee, probably going to be too expensive, too big for me to trade. Yeah, it's $286 for 1 micro. That's a little bit absurd for me. Now the 1 hour starts here. That was the order block, and if you can kind of see, I marked out from here to here was a 1 hour order block. It takes in also this candle, this last push on the 30-minute. So that'd be, if you move this, it'd be more like refined area of order block and maybe reaction. It's still going to be way too expensive for me. What I think that if the price moves up here, it's going to get up into this area. Yeah, 100%. I'm just going to mark this out as like a reference line, and I'm going to mark, let's see, let's go with, I'm going to make it a little different color. I'm going to go with go maroon color. Let's see. I'll call this 30-minute target, maybe an entry. We'll just have to see. So let me get in there a little bit closer, just so it's spot on. Okay, so we got it right here listed. Also interesting because I follow some options and stuff on here. There's a call wall here. Let's see. It doesn't appear to be like super strong to me. Like there's a stronger one up higher, this one up here, and there's a percentage rating. This one says 42%. This one only says 6. So I would almost expect maybe a little reaction here, bigger reaction here, which, it's funny because we were also talking about on the other chart, the pivot, right? The pivot within the 1 hour order block could be a good reaction area. Well, check out how the pivot shows up here on the 30-minute. It's right on this line, right? Which is also kind of an, according to this indicator, like a supply demand area. And it lines up perfectly. So this area in here is really high interest for me for like a reaction. So I'm absolutely going to mark this out. Because I really think we could have something, possibly a reactor on here. So I'm going to go ahead and let's do this. Template load. Let's see. Do I have? All right. Let me just do this. I don't like that color. I'm going to make it maroon again. And let's call it the 30-minute entry. So I'd like that one a lot as a reactionary. Maybe this one more as a target. We let the price come up higher. We get good reaction out of here. You're looking at about $150 on that trade. I would take it because I would really think that this gigantic push down from last week Friday. How's the volume look? Yeah, there's some volume up there. Maybe we get a decent reaction, hopefully. Price is going to want to get up here. I see an imbalance up here from quite a long time ago. Let's see, how long is that? You're talking August 18, a couple weeks ago. But I still find value and strength in these. So price is going to want to at least get up here to touch that. So, but we have some distance in there. Price may dance around at the top while the sellers try to protect, and maybe we get that push down. So, all right, enough talking on that. We're just going to watch and monitor. It's kind of in my no junk trade zone right now. So we'll let it kind of do what it's going to do. I would expect that it does something to come up and touch the Asia session open, the yellow line. But if it doesn't, it could be a clue, some kind of retracement down. Okay. 15 minutes. All right, 15 minutes. So you can see purple box, which is from right about the top of this 1 hour gap. Let me go back to 1 hour so you can see that 1 hour that I marked out, that imbalance. So this Europe Open started their initial balance at 2 a.m. Eastern time, pushed it up, made a range close to 80 points. You can also see I've got some options information built in here, which could affect the price. So we'll watch that. We're watching London build out on the 15-minute right now. And so one area that really is another interest for me is you can see that we've marked out down here. We've got the 30-minute imbalance. We've got a 1 hour imbalance. And now we have another thing. we have a 15-minute imbalance. Now this one's a little bit more towards like the top of all three, but I'm gonna go ahead and mark that out. And really, the only other entry that I would be interested in for reaction, but this one would be more risky because you've got this kind of first move area here. You have the 50% of this imbalance on the 15-minute. But honestly, I think if price gets around here and it doesn't react, it's going to at least come down to VWAP. If it comes down to VWAP, it could potentially completely wipe out this imbalance. You know, for me, it has to close through to wipe it out, but to wick down and through it wouldn't be out of the question. And I think if I were to enter this one right here, which is 50%, we'll mark this out. So I don't want it to get too complicated. So we'll go 50%, 15 minutes, FVG. So that'll show up on my other chart. You know, what are we looking at for price? Well, I already know that from here, and I got to get my stop below this move up. So you're talking all the way down here. So 132 on that entry for me. This entry 108-ish, and then this entry you're looking at 62. You know, I've got $200 budget. So one thing I could do, I could take one micro here, see how it plays out. Maybe I get reaction, maybe I get a small profit. Close that out, and then I look for an entry back down here. But if I have one micro here and it drives through like I'm expecting it would, then I really don't have another means to get in with another entry, another contract, unless I do, let's see, what is this? 133.50, and I got like 57 budget. So I'd have to come down to where I could afford it, which is going to be, well, we're going to call it just below, which would be down here. So I've got some options on what I can do. 61, 80. Okay. So either my plan, and let's go ahead and mark this out so you can see. So this is my idea, my plan. I'd either take entry 1 and 4. I'll call this 1, 2, 3, 4. Entry 1 and 4, $200. Entry 2 and 3, $200 budget. So it's, you know, do you want to get into the action sooner and hopefully it reacts out of there, you know? Or do you want to wait till it gets a little bit lower where you're expecting the price to get to react and push out? You know, it's kind of up to you and how you want to like get into these trades. But you know, I'm very strict with my budget. So we'll watch it as price comes down to that area. You know, we got things pretty well spread out today. You know, with this big push down, big push up. So we're not just sitting around the POC and going sideways. We don't have that this morning. Although it looks like it on the 5-minute, doesn't it? I guess not Asian Open, but London so far has blessed us with super sideways move. So hopefully they're just building for a move out. But you know, one thing that wouldn't be out of the question is that they do hang around here for a while. They get enough volume up in this area, right? Because POC is way down here, 315, and we're way up around the 515. So 200 points below is the POC, right? That's where a lot of the price action in early Globex trading kind of hung out. They dropped all the volume down here. Well, you can see they're starting to build. So this sideways build is just going to be potentially, they'll throw a bunch of volume up here. Then what do? You know, is it going to continue to trend and move up? Or is this kind of the low point of the build today? This is maybe the high point if they build enough up here and then they drop it back down right smack dab in the middle and they build. And what would that do? Well, it would put the price right around the VWAP. It would move the POC potentially from here to up here to probably right in the middle. And then New York Open, you got a nice, beautiful bell curve and ready for New York, the pre-market. So it's really common to see that. You know, it's almost like that's their goal is to have a beautiful bell curve of volume profile. All right, let's see. So looking at lower time frames, you know, couple things that we'll see is you can see on the 5-minute chart here, the areas are marked out, the entries that I'm maybe interested in. My target and my entries can also be targets, so we can maybe watch and see what happens on the 5-minute. But wow, you can see 5-minute is looking pretty ugly right now. It's all sideways from Europe Open. They pushed it up and they just hung it up here for everyone. So you know, we go back to like expectations and we just kind of have to watch this sideways action. But one thing we can do to maybe help, and you know, I don't really trade the back and forth through this stuff. You can, you know, I think I tracked the day last week where there was 6 or 7 winners in a row before it finally broke. And that's how you have to go into this, with the expectation that you're probably going to win quite a few, but at some point you're going to lose one because the price will drive up and out. So, all right, how do we do this? I just look at the bodies on like a 5-minute chart, and what I see just clearly, bodies can't get past up here, bodies can't get past here. You got the wick outs. Your wick outs are your entries and where you're going to take it. If you look at the actual box rectangle I just drew here, just use a fib tool, draw this out, look at the 50% line, and you just put a line in there. Actually, you know what I'll do? Let me go with a white line, and we can just kind of track it, right? So just rough estimate, right? So you would be looking at, if you wanted to take these trades, it's not big. You're talking, what, about 9 points, right? So what I would do is, let's measure out, what was this spike out here? This spike out here, okay, that was a little bit bigger. That was about what, 10.5 points, right? So maybe what I do is I look at like 11 point, you know, stop. A second. Let me get my right tool. So you look at like 11 points. Let me copy these over. So you'd be looking at maybe about, this is just going to be rough estimate, right? So drop a block there, drop a block here. Anyway, like play the entries this way. I'm gonna put red border on this. Let me do this bigger. We'll see how long this lasts, by the way. All right, let me make the orders bigger so we can see it. All right, there's my sell area. Let's see, can I grab this one? Yeah. And outline, we'll do this one in like a real bright green. We'll go lime green, 3 on the border. All right, so the idea here, if you want to play this game, and you would have to measure this out. It would have to be like little small stuff, and maybe it wins, maybe it doesn't. But you know, you're looking at you had 10.5 points, so maybe a stop of 11, so that's 44 ticks. And you know, from your entries, it's going to drive back in maybe about a good 9 points, we'll call it, so 36, right? super cheap. You're talking about hardly anything to play this game. If you just wanted to try it and practice like with micro, um, you know, you're not going to be making a lot of money doing this if you want to go small time. But take the risk, practice it out. You're looking at about $23 risk to make about 17. So risk reward is a little bit skewed, but if you check this out, if you can identify these areas, and I think you start to get the identification, you could be in sideways, somewhere in the start area where they can't push it out, it drives it back in, and then you start to see the resistance down here, it drives it back up. So once you can identify this, and earlier the better, you start to get all these wins. So look at, you got here, comes up, sell it back here. That's one win. You got, I don't know which way this candle moved, but I see 2 trades in here. So that's, you're up to 3, comes back down here, you engage, you buy. That's 4, comes up here, you engage, comes back down, 5. So that one looks like it could be the same. This one here, they push it up, they engage, they come back down within the same candle, potentially. You could have 6 trades. Now, I'm not saying one contract micro trading is going to give you a ton, you know. Let me go back to my tool here, because you've got potentially 6, 15. So looking at doing mental math, like one micro, if you start playing all these and you keep winning, you're up around $90 just through this price action. But this is also a good clue. It's like you can watch the 5-minute, and if you draw these areas out like this, watch what this 5-minute candle does. You got 3 minutes left. Do you want to try a trade to bring it back? Now, if it wicks out or pushes out, which, gosh, I certainly would expect it gets up here. This yellow line right here is Globex open, Asia open. But you can see strange things happen when they start to build. And, maybe one way you can predict how long a build is going to happen, if their intent is to move this POC from here up to here, well, this thing's going to go sideways until this moves. That's usually what happens on the chart, usually what I see. Is it always 100%? No. But would you have had another winning trade? Yeah, you would have another winning trade right here with this candle. Look at that. They came up, pushed it up here. I think this one was probably a win within the same candle. They came up, pushed it here again. You got another win. So maybe 7, 8 winners here just in like the last hour. They keep driving it back to this little white line I put on here. That's just the middle point of just all this build. Is there times where they're probably just going to wick past this? Yeah, I would expect a wick up here to this yellow line, maybe a wick down here to 50% wick below. That's the mid. So, if you have your stop here at the bottom, you could potentially lose a few, but I think for me, like, I wouldn't, just me personally, if I was going to try this, I wouldn't really just blindly put buy limit, sell limit at those entries, but you could definitely go that route, or kind of wait. You see the price come up, react like this candle, and you see it start to push back in. Maybe that's how you enter. Or I don't know. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. This is 1 minute. Check that out. Wow. I hope no one's actually trying to analyze a 1-minute chart with that action. Holy smokes. Man, that's a heck of a sight to see. Beautiful. They've contained that price very well. 2-minute, man. And they're gonna break it out at some point, because we're 40 minutes into London IB Open, and we've only gone 22.25 points. So, wow, that's rough. That is really, really rough. All right. Um, I think it becomes harder to trade consolidation the lower you go. You may have more entries in this, but I think if you start to look at 1 minute, it's going to be hard to gauge like where do I want to enter? Where exactly is the consolidation? You know, because your eyes start to move to like maybe this area, you get a much tighter range. Um, so I would prefer to like the areas that kind of give you bodies to draw those out. Because I think if we look at 15 minute, 15 minute, it'd be hard to play the consolidation. Like you have to draw the zone completely different. Let me get in here nice and close. So look at the 15 minute, right? You see the candle wicks. You see small bodies like doji candles. So you see this on 15 minute, which would be really hard to trade. This is not giving you anything right now, right? You see this on 15 minute, then you automatically know you go to a lower time frame, it's going to be a build and it's going to be sideways action. It's your first indication right there. Higher time frame doji candles mean lower time frame consolidation build. So yeah, do we try a couple of these just to see? Let's see. Did they come touch that? No, they haven't touched it yet. But we could absolutely try a couple for YouTube, just to kind of play the back and forth. But you have to realize, you have to know at some point the price is seriously going to break out and get through this, you know. What direction you absolutely don't know, probably never will know. That's tough. Tough call. So yeah, let's just keep watching this because we have 19 minutes until the new hour. I'm anticipating, almost expecting London just to keep this thing in this super tight range. You know, I'm not completely exact on my drawings when this kind of thing happens. So I'm looking more just kind of general areas, and you just try to take the extremes and move it back to the middle. So pretty simple. Just take a look at my other stuff here, my other charts. Let's see. Here, I have to. Let's see. Where is? Yeah. I'll move this open over. All's quiet on my testing front. I have a few accounts. I'm trying to test a few things, a few ideas, and it's really quiet. The sideways means nothing. Those charts. All right. Sorry, I had that 5 minute chart kind of screwed up there, so it's hard to see. All right. So it's just kind of a hurry up and wait right now. Looks like it's on 30 minute. 30 minute made a you get this fair value gap here. Let's see. You know, do they eventually move it back down here to at least touch it? 95, 495, 75. I mean, it's a really tiny move. It's just down here. Would they wick that? Probably, I would think. Do we get any guidance on a lower time frame, a 1 minute? Maybe. Or is what is the price on that? 495.50. 495.50. It shows up as a strong low in the 1 minute. Yeah. Look at you. If I scrunch up that 1 minute, look at that. That's beautiful. It just makes me laugh sometimes, really, looking at the chart. It's not a laugh to be involved in it if you don't know. If you look at this stuff and you keep thinking, man, it's breaking out, I'm getting in on the buys, and then it keeps coming back at you. Uh, it drives you crazy, really. Hmm. So, for me, it's a lot of no trading in this kind of stuff. Um, let's see, gold's actually moving nice. Gold has got some nice structure. Um, nice push up, nice retracement, nice push up, kind of built up POC, pushing up again. That's super nice. I think what I'm going to need to do here, just for YouTube and trying to, get some trading action, maybe I will have it where I have two screens, and I'll set up uh, NASDAQ, MAQ on one screen. And if trading is terrible, we'll go to second option. Second option be gold, because usually one of them will be moving in the market. Gold's actually moving nice. It just happens to be Nasdaq for now is not doing much. So, all right. All right, let's see what happens here. 1 minute, 495. I would almost expect they come down, they touch this fair value gap and balance on the 30-minute, then they react back up and push it up. I could see that happening. So if you wanted to play like a really small game, you would have to. And this is so tiny because you're expecting the price to be contained in this area for now. So I feel like if they do come down to touch this 30-minute, it's probably going to be a wick. Wick down, boom, back up, puts it right back into consolidation as they continue to throw more volume up here and eventually move the POC from here to here. We'll see if they do it. So I've got some areas of interest, some areas I can get involved in. But we just have to wait. We have to wait for price to come to us, or gives us some kind of indication. Maybe another indication we can look at is if the price does move up, it gets a little bit above this Globex high, the high of the day today so far. What does it do right here? Because I don't think, see, there's not much. Price gets above here. You got targets up here for Europe. I would expect that price moves pretty dramatically up here. You've got a pivot. You've got an imbalance, 15-minute. I would think here is a great area for a target or an entry. If you're looking for the reaction, it's an entry. If they build some structure out, push up, come back down into the structure, I'd be looking to buy it back up. But it's hard to give any real, hard to get any real good analysis when you've got price moving in sideways. So, yep. Pretty exciting stuff. But, I think you can do a lot of trading in this kind of stuff. You just have to adapt and look at the chart, look at what it's giving you. And really, that's how you base, everything with your trading. So you go into the small game, play the edges mode when you see this sideways. Starts to really push again and trending. You're gonna play a little different game. You know, you're gonna play the retrace and continue to push or reactionary areas. All right, let's see if they drive it back down to this fair value gap. I really think they will. I think 495.50 could absolutely be a destination. Gosh, it's like so tiny with a 22 point range, or maybe, oh, sorry, it's 23.5 range. So we increased it by like another point. uh, you know, this move from here to here is it's like 8 points. But right now, this would have been another buy entry because it came down, came into your area. So let's see what they do. Do they bring it back up here? If they do, that's another winner, and that could be like what, eight in a row. Yeah, I think so. It's like eight trades in this mess. So, and you know, if a micro only would cost you 22.50, you could really move your size up, right, to make some money in this stuff. So you imagine if it was one mini, so a micro 22.50, so a mini in this trade, you know, you basically going to times it by 10, so $225 risk. And instead of what I think was 17.50, you know, profit's going to be around 175. I guess about 170 with commission for each of those trades. And if you took 9 trades, I gotta get my calculator for this one. Sorry. Let's see. Calculator. So let's say you took all these trades and you got 8 winners. We'll call it 8 winners times 170. $1,360 if you went with mini. That's not bad. It's a guarantee. Price is not going to stay like this all day. So it's a guarantee you're going to definitely lose at some point. But really, you know, in this case, and I measured out these edge boxes based on what's the highest spike out of the consolidation. That's how I base my risk. And if I was going to play the consolidation game, I would want to have an okay, decent risk to reward if I could. I mean, optimal for me would be like 1-to-1 playing that game. But okay, so here we go. Came down, they touched the fair value gap, right? Touched fair value gap. So now what do? Now my expectation is if they keep it in consolidation, they're going to drive it right back up here to this white line. And this, with 2 minutes left to go, we'll see how it finishes. We will see if they drive it back into this range. If they drive it back into the consolidation range, my expectation is come back to the 50% that I drew out for the range. All right, let's start to think about what ifs. What if they continue to move it down? What do we got here? On the 1 hour, marked out on this 1 hour chart, here is at the low of Europe's IB, is a untouched fair value gap imbalance. We could look for maybe entry here. Let me mark out 50% on that one as a possible entry. I don't hate it. I don't really love it either. And why don't I love it? If I take the leg of price action, even on a 15, it's not in like value for me. So if I go from this low to this high, this move, price hasn't shown me anything yet. Now this little area has, you know, shown some move. But this whole area here, like if I saw this move, what's my expectation? They absolutely come to this high, they challenge it. What are they doing? What aren't they doing? Well, they haven't done it yet. So if price just falls out and comes all the way down, I would be more willing to target this area because my targets and entries can be the same. I'd be willing more to target that area rather than look at um, a move out of that area, if that makes sense. Like maybe a move out reaction down here. Reaction here, I think could be dicey because you're not in a value area and you have really nothing else to go on. You have the 1 hour imbalance, which I mean that's pretty strong. It's higher time frame. Um, you got little baby one on 30-minute. It's kind of built in, but it doesn't really give you much room. You know, depending on where your stop's going to go, this it wouldn't be the best, in my opinion. Let's look at 30-minute. So you can see it shows up. Here's my 30-minute chart, and you got that little area down here from the 30-minute. That's a gap on 30-minute, untouched. But honestly, if I took this trade like reaction, my stop's going to go here. And what do I expect? Well, if the price gets in here, they're probably going to go to that, to touch that. And if my stop's there, it's just asking to lose money. Really. Oh, so check this out, everyone. This is kind of cool. So we talked about the move down, touch that fair value gap on the 30. That happened right here. It was 495.50. They came down, they wicked it. They get into the extreme area. What do? Bam, they push it right back up to the middle point. Still in consolidation. So as soon as they come down, they touch something, they drive it back in, they close it back in this consolidation. The expectation is they're just going to keep it here, keep dropping more and more volume. Unfortunately, I'm gonna extend this out because I have a really bad feeling they could want to go sideways for a while. So I guess it was right about there, right? I think. And like I'm just kind of eyeballing this. It's not an exact science. I'll put it that way. So now we have a range of 30 points. A range like that, that's super small. If they show the targets are going to be super small. You know, Europe has a much bigger range, much bigger targets than London, and that doesn't happen very often. All right, what are they doing with volume? Keep building out. So you can see right here, you know, they got a long ways to go. POC still down here, but they're building it out right here, building it out. So we could literally, if that's their intention to build out and build out enough volume to move the POC from here to here, it could be a long hour of watching this, right? But I think now we've got, I think eight or nine wins in there. Like every time those areas get touched, you just take it right back to the middle. And you know, theory, if you could get a risk to reward of 1-to-1 and play the consolidation game, like the longer it stays that way and the more trades you get, I mean, you could really make some good income with that. You never know how long these are going to last, but you know, my warning signs would be right around now because you've got a new hour starting here in 1 minute, and usually new hour is a point of momentum and drive in a certain direction, a reverse, a continuation. It's usually something, but it'll be a good clue if it goes nowhere at the new hour. then I'm almost expecting, at least until the new half hour, we just stay doing this. So if we were gonna make some trades in this zone, if we want to engage and do something, this is how we're gonna have to adapt into the new hour. I like to take trades after the initial balance is set. They started the consolidation shortly after Europe Open. So we've been in it for a while now. Let's see. We'll call this the first candle, 220 to almost 4. So it's been more than an hour and a half of sideways. So you can see right away, new hour, you see that candles were really slow, sluggish, not moving a whole lot. And look at how we're getting some move, right? We're getting top of the hour orders coming into the market. We could be in for the same situation though. So let's see. So this would potentially been another trade. See if they come back up and hit this white line. There you go. There's another winner. That I think we're at 10. All right, let's see. Do they hold it here? Touch, bring it back to the white line. That'd be 11 if it holds. Let's see what they do. I told you my expectation was they come up here and they wick this Asia. Oh, it's close. Really close. Let's see. I don't know if that one would have hit. It could have. It was really close. I would say no so far. So let's just kind of watch. We'll let the first 5 minutes play out, and then we'll start to look at what can we do to get involved. I think we have to play from the smaller time frame chart today because higher time frame is not really going to show too much. All right, there we go. We got the wick touch up on Asia Open. Do they pull it back down into the range? Reaction or continue to push? And here's another interesting point. I got to point this out. Look at how small the targets are for London. Like this little move, on London from here to here, which isn't much, like about 15 points, was enough to grab first target, second target. So that's pretty weak. Now, I don't think I would move my risk. If they pull it back in and they're going to do this consolidation thing for like another hour, I'm not going to move my edge entries. I would chalk this one up as like a loss, a whip through. Like I was at 100% expecting this to happen, this touch of Lobex open. You also have the high of the day, which could also be another wick point right there. And then we had that imbalance sitting, it was 495.50. So it was kind of in this area. You can see they came down twice into it, touched it. Okay, so let's reset. Let's watch this. And once this 5-minute candle closes, if we're still within the range, we'll play the range game for an hour, right? We'll adapt to the chart. If they want to break out of here, they want to give me a candle body close outside of this green area or outside of my red area. Cool. Then we can delete all this garbage, adapt to the chart, and say, okay, maybe we're finally starting to move and get going. Possibly next point here is this is 5-minute. You got to untouch a fair value gap here. It could be target here. Do we get the touch reaction back into consolidation? We'll just have to wait and see. There's also kind of hidden in here. Unfortunately, I drew the box. I'll move it up here a little bit. See that purple dash line right here? That is the middle point, the 50% of Europe initial balance, which we know is always a point that the buyers want to hold, right? So we really need to see the information on the close of this 5-minute candle to get a good idea who's going to be in control. One thing I would probably do though And you got a nice reaction down here on some of the option information, this put wall down here, which was, it's hard to see with the color, like 30 some percent, 33. I gotta make my font bigger. 30, 33%. I think 33 on that wall right there. And that perfect reaction from the 50%, supported by some options information in there also. That's cool to see that reaction. Now, if they can drive it through here, give down. So let's start to think about a few things. 5-minute candle, they push it down. You know, my next thought is they at least come down to here. They've grabbed 2 targets on the top side. My expectation closed down and around here. They'll probably at least grab these 2 targets. I mean, that's like nothing for them to get those. You're talking not a lot of points. All right. So we did have this candle body close with outside the range of the consolidation, right? So on a 5-minute, we see a candle body close. But on the 15-minute, this action is going to be a wick, right? If they move it back up and the buyers can close this as a green candle, you know, like a stronger buy candle, this is just going to be a wick. And this 15-minute is going to end like a doji. It looks like they just swept the high, came down, and swept the lows. So 15-minute looks ugly. 30-minute looks absolutely terrible. 60-minute, you know, no surprise, the last 60-minute was a little bit bigger than, I guess, a doji, but didn't show good buying strength at all. So, what are we doing now? On the 60-minute last push up, we did make a gap here. So we've touched the gap. Where's the 50%? Let's mark that real quick just so we see. See if we get a reaction from this area. Okay, so that is 485 on 50% of the 1 hour fair value gap. Do they hold that? Do they get past it? So where does that show on the chart here on the 5-minute? 485 is just about the same as the 5-minute fair value gap balance that was made from this candle push. Let me refine that. I'm going to put it right on there, right? So that's kind of a key point, I think. Whether or not they hold it, do they push it up and out? We'll see. So we had this push out, it came back up, challenged. You know, I think this candle right here is going to help me hopefully decide what the heck's going on. This so far is really a good clue, and I'll tell you why. And we can't really make a move or do anything quite yet because I want to see how this 5-minute candle closes. But it's already given me a little clue. Now they came up, they took those top 2 targets like that. They came down and they pushed down below 50% of Europe right here. What did they do? They got to the low of this little baby London range. And I'm sorry. Let me step back because I said this closed below the 50%. It didn't. It reacted off the 50%. But let me focus more on the IB range of London because IB range of London, tiny. I wouldn't put a whole lot of faith in it, but they got down here at the low of London's IB range, and my expectation right away goes to, oh my gosh, you got to hit that first target. It's like a couple points away. They couldn't do it. And buyers pushed it right back up. And technically, you have a wick. You got the body coming back into IB. This should give us a clue. Are they going to give us more consolidation? And what I would expect, if they're going to give us more consolidation, this good solid 5-minute candle, you're going to close back in this area, closer to my white line. They may technically expand out this consolidation area a bit, so maybe we have to adjust this. You know, maybe not so much of a tight range. But right now, this big down move, big up move, it's just driving more volume to here for potential move of the POC to move up, right? So you get this area up here getting closer to POC volume down here. And the longer they stay up here, this value area high, so the value area where most things have traded so far today is between here and here, the darker area. The lightly shaded area is outside of value. So technically things up here are more expensive. They want to potentially drive it back down into the value area. The longer they build up here, the more this value area is going to start to move up to start to take in more of this space. So right now, value area high is sitting right here. So we can kind of watch that. And if they move the POC up here, value area high is going to end up moving up with it. And value area low will start to creep up as 68% of where the volume has traded today will start to adjust. All right. So yeah, this is pretty challenging because right now they're just, this is terrible price action. You think it's going down, they can't do it, and they push it right back up. Right. So let's focus on a few things. Let's look at some of our other higher time frame charts and let's get an idea. So we had one expectation that if they could get up and challenge the high, what do? They close above that high. I would absolutely expect they hit up here, right? I've got the target entry line sitting right there. You know, that's a big expectation of mine that they would at least do that. So let's see. You got 52. Be a good area to look at. 59s. I'm sorry. Sorry, YouTube. I just hit my microphone. 53s, 59s in that area. Challenge. They get past. I almost want to mark this area out so you can see the areas I'm thinking about. Let's see. I know I don't have. I do something like this. 5 minute. 5 minutes. Yeah. Let's see. 5 minute. 5 minute. All right. So we got a 5 minute area there. I'm interested in that area because I think this action in here is interesting, and my idea starts to switch. This is looking at Friday's volume profile. You got like this area here of lower volume and higher volume, and I think if they can clear this in some way, it comes up to here. I think that's maybe a more valuable trade. We got to look for some structure in there. But yeah, that's 132 ticks. So that's a little bit better option for getting something rather than playing a real tiny game that we were looking at with consolidation. Potentially, what do we got? We got a minute 52 left on this 15-minute. It looks like they're going to close this thing as a doji. And what did they essentially do in 15 minutes? They took out buyers, so they took out sellers, and they dropped more volume. So this to me says consolidation on small time frame, but maybe a bigger range because we did push up, we did push down. So anybody that was playing the real small tight consolidation game took a couple losses with this 15-minute candle. And they came back and said, haha, we drop it right back in the middle again. So it's just, I guess, the risk you take if you want to play that game, right? So, but just remember, look at higher time frame, 30-minute, 15-minute. If it's a doji candle, then your smaller time frame is going to show terrible price action, really hard to follow, up, down moves, Um, does the 1 minute give you something a little different? Maybe not so much. Just looking at a few other charts. And one thing I don't really like to do is play market structure trades on 1 minute. I think 1 minute's a mess. Um, that'll drive you crazy. I do like to look for 1 minute when I start to think a market is maybe starting to give me some signs of maybe a potential move in a certain way. I don't mind looking at the 1 minute, but I have to have like an idea on the higher time frame of direction. So like this lower time frame, this you could almost say if I was looking at this 1 minute, and let me go back just a little bit real quick. When I saw that big push up, spike up, and they came back down and drove it down, and then they closed that candle right there, they closed below this move up. If you're tracking only 1 minute and you're staying on 1 minute, you're starting to think this thing's going down. And then they come right back and they drive it right back up. So 1 minute is not a good, accurate thing. It has its uses. Um, it can be valuable to spot something first, potential, but you can't put a lot of faith in it. Like I don't like trading. For me, the lowest time frame I really want to consider anything on is 5 minute. Because I feel like that gives me maybe a more consistent first look of what potentially is maybe happening. You can see right now, really all we have is we drove right back into like the middle of this consolidation. And if anything, if we want to play consolidation, and if that's what they're going to give us, I think we do need to make an adjustment. So let me do this. Let me move these out, right? Because this push down, this push up, that push down did expand the range on the 5 minute, which I know is ugly on the 15. So my range now would be I'm going to look at the candle low here, candle body low here, candle body highs up here. Okay, that's kind of my range. I'll take my fib and I'll measure out that range, and the 50%, which is my white line, is going to be right there. That will now be where we take the trades back into. Okay, let me take, I can grab it. Let me take this. This is our 1-to-1. 1-to-1 entry and stop. So I'm taking that 5 minute range I just drew out from this big candle body on the 5 minute, right? And I'm going to say I take entries here to drive back to the middle. So I'm going to move this right here. This is half of the box that I drew out of the range. I'll move it up here. This is my entry area. This is my entry area down here, right? So now what are we looking at for risk? Well, the risk is going to increase because they expanded out. So let's measure our risk. I know from here, an entry is going to now cost me $40, but my profit will be $40. So now I'm a pure 1-to-1, 1 micro, $40. It looks like, it appears that this is what they're going to give us for London. And I don't know, it could be world events. Kind of tracking what's going on right now in the world, and some back and forth attacks maybe has the market sitting waiting to see what happens with that. And maybe that's why we're driving sideways. There's not really any big red folder news today that I would anticipate this kind of action in this small of a range. But now, I mean, there's a lot of things to kind of think about here. So we've got our consolidated range. I would take entries here to drive back to my white line, which is the middle of the consolidation. And let's see, if we get down here, I will take a trade. We'll try it. We'll hope that the buyers, which were able to push up, sellers couldn't really do much, and buyers pushed it back up again, and now the sellers They'll probably come down, challenge the buyers here. If the buyers are still here, they're going to push it back up and probably to the halfway point. That's my expectation. If the expectation doesn't work, the sellers are able to come down, close below these buyers and drive it down. Then my expectation is they come down to the Europe IB low, which down here, which is a target and an entry. So for me, I have to think about buy here. My stop's going to be tight. It's going to be right here, right? If they take my stop, then what I would do is I would focus more for a sell, because momentum and the structure would change on the 5 minute to down. And now I have to look at what I drew down here, which was an entry or target. And so getting in here, I would drive it to my target, but then I would start to think about what does the structure and momentum look like? Can I possibly get it back up there? All right, so let me go ahead and let me find something that's close. Okay, so we'll take one buy here. We hit the edge. We're going to try to drive it right back up here to the middle. We're going to keep our stop tight. Like I said, if they drive it down here, no big deal. This is risking 40 to make 40. And we'll see. We'll see if they're going to keep the consolidation game going. If they don't, like I said, I will take a trade that would run basically from here and target an entry target that I have down here. This was not a super buy area that I really liked, because if you remember, this really wasn't in my leg of movement. My big push up wasn't really in my value area. Like, the price would need to get down lower for me to consider buying back up. So I would look at this low area, which, funny enough, I was just talking about this a minute ago. As they start to stick up here and volume starts to stay up here, check this out. Value, if you remember, value area high was right around the 1.25. We were talking about that. They just now moved value area up higher, right? It's now sitting here. So as they continue to build this area out, I am expecting the value area moves all the way up. They get this area into value. POC starts to creep up. I mean, they're already, you can see it, they're kind of doing it. You know, this spike of volume keeps growing as they keep this in consolidation. All right, let me talk about this trade real quick. This trade for me, honestly, I look at this trade as just like 1-to-1. I'm not going to move my stop. I'm not going to, try to hit break even or anything like that. This is really small risk. It's $40 risk to make $40, or if you're doing a mini, it's 400 to make 400. As long as they keep this in the range, I mean, that's the play. Does it hit the halfway point of what I drew out? We'll see. If it doesn't, that could be a clue. That could be a clue that this build, this consolidation, is technically on its way to breaking. Do I like the buys or sells better for this consolidation? Actually, I kind of prefer the buy side, and the reason for that is the most recent momentum, recent price action has been up. So I almost prefer to buy on the consolidation back to the middle. Whether this works or not, we'll see. It's pretty low risk to play the game. Not a problem. And we'll just see what happens here. So 9:23 my time. It is, let's see, 4:23 Eastern Standard Time. We're sitting in Subway. So let's see if they keep it in that path or not. And yeah, all right. Let's see what happens. Let's see if they come back up. So if it does come back up here, we'll try the sell. We got our stop up here, which I'm a little less excited about. because you have a high up here, the high of the day. My stop would be beyond it. So I would hope that if the price does get up here, they react back down, push it back down. So my entry's right here at the box. Stop's going to be up here. It's going to be tight. I'm not going to move my stop any farther than what I've drawn out. So this is playing a 1-to-1 consolidation game. You know, you win 40. You lose 40. So as we look at the price action right now in the 5-minute, what's happened so far? So buyers really pushed up, big extreme candle. Sellers came down. So far, the last 5-minute candle, they couldn't close below the big push up. They only wicked the low, and buyers bought it right back up. So this candle, if I'm just basing my assessment on this 5-minute candle, like I would say, even though they wick below the buyers are in control. Where their stops are, they're probably down in this area. You know, if you took a buy and you put your stop right here, you got wicked out. So, but you know, these are really good indication candles to see who's in control after this. So when this 5-minute candle closes, can the sellers close below this last candle, this doji candle? Which, if it's a doji candle on the 5-minute, that means that we're probably in a tight, really tough range on 1 minute, right? So you go to 1 minute, you can see it's just sideways mess. So, but you know, you can still analyze some stuff on the 1 minute too, and you kind of get a clue. So, you know, we had the big push up, the buyers came down, they couldn't close below here, they challenged it, they whipped out the buyers, they start to push up. Now, if the sellers are controlled, they're going to close below here, right? If the buyers can take this candle right here and they close above here, then, you know, you start to go, well, my next expectation is they've already wicked this out. They're probably going to get above here. They're going to challenge here, and potentially you're talking a matter of 508, 11, 3 points to get up here. If the buyers can't hit my target with 3 extra points, that's a clue. That's a clue sellers are in control. And then from this 50%, you know, you're starting to expect, okay, well, maybe we go back down. And what would my target be? Well, from the 50% line, that area right there, right? You've got the 50% from London, which the sellers are going to try to defend that. And even though this is a target on this range right here, right? This is that, the 50% of the consolidation. Even though this is a target, targets can also be entries. So you can almost play buy from the edges to the middle. And if you can get some clear indication of direction, you could potentially enter from middle to go to edge. But I think that's more difficult. My eyes, my brain doesn't work quite that way. I do think it'd be more of a challenge because a lot of these candles are hitting the edges like within the actual candle range itself. So you would almost have to take this drawing, put it onto like the 1 minute chart, and start to manage entries from the middle. So like, you know, you see where my target is, 511.25. And if an entry was going to happen here, you know, you've got some imbalances on the 1 minute that would technically maybe have a reaction. So that would, you know, your stop is going to go higher. It's going to be at the entry box because you're playing the 1-to-1 game. So you would say, come here, 1-to-1. I'm going to go from here down to here. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. All right, let's peek at this 1 minute action. and see if we can read candle by candle what's going on. All right, so I look at this down move, right? This is the 50% of consolidation right here. You had this down move. This down move here could not get below this up move here. Buyers in control. Buyers push up. They want to get above here. They couldn't do it. Wicked out. Pushed down. Sellers want to get below the buyers here. They can't do it. Buyers push back up. Buyers right here get above sellers here and here. Buyers are in control within this bar right here. So now I have to look at this wick here, right? If these buyers are still here and honest and true, there is buyers here, then they should be able to get to here, right? But like I said, 1 minute, really crappy to analyze what's going on. Maybe it gives you a clue, but 1 minute can be so up and down, so wicky that I wouldn't really analyze a whole lot. I wouldn't take a whole lot of time on that. But same concept, just different time chart, but I wouldn't hold a whole lot of weight to a 1 minute chart. But for me, if the buyers are still here and they can get above here, there's no reason why you come to the middle. At least maybe a reaction here. I don't know. But if the buyers can, motor through this, motor through that, get to the top, then I have to start looking at my entries that were up here. I did mark out an area up here on the 5 minute. That was an interest for me. It's like, look at this area on the 5 minute. It's like the last stand for the sellers. Like if the buyers get through there, I feel like buyers just keep pushing up to the next area. And the next area, I have this up here, which was a target. But if you were going to start to get on the side of the buyers, they get put past here. Maybe you look for target at the pivot, target up here. So, but we'll see. We'll see if they're going to hold consolidation or not. If they don't hold consolidation, I would think my trade here is going to be wiped out. And then, I'm going to end up looking probably for some type of sell to continue down into the targets that are down here. Funny enough, this 1-to-1 trade, if it loses, my next entry from here to here, just eyeballing it, looks like another kind of 1-to-1 $40 risk. Let's see, what is it? You can see for sure. 90, about 90, 89, 90 ticks. Let's see. Entry. Yeah, it's a little bit more. We're talking like, we'll call it $45 from here to here. I think you would have maybe some type of reaction in here. It's a little 5 minute fair value gap, but if the sellers can push down, they push through this gap. My expectation would be they just continue it down. I don't think I would put a whole lot of faith in London I beat today because it's such a small range. Targets are so small. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of faith in targets holding or targets being big reaction points at this point. I know it's hard to see, but the Europe range from right up here in this purple box, it's from here down to here. That's what I'm going to judge everything on, really, because it's a little bit bigger. I feel like the action within here is maybe a little bit easier to read. It's going to allow for maybe a little bit better trading than this small consolidated range that London gave us. So, yeah, so that's kind of where we're standing right now. It's kind of just waiting to see if they want to keep it in the range. And, You know, if they want to drive volume here, make this POC, then that's my expectation that they're just going to keep it in this range. And unfortunately, it's painful to stick through these trades. Earlier, when the consolidated range was really tiny, I mean, those were fast. Those were like a couple minute trades, taking them at the edge, driving it back to the middle. Now, as I expanded out the potential consolidated range, unfortunately, you have to wait for these trades a little bit longer. All right, so what time? Let's see, what is it here? It is 4:34 Eastern time. So we've passed the 30-minute. Usually, sometimes 30-minute can be a driving force. It can be a momentum change, a reversal. In 30-minute candle, or sorry, the 5-minute candle at 4:35 Eastern Standard Time kept us in the range. So, you know, what do I expect? Most likely, the expectation is to stay within this range until the next new hour. Because it really hasn't given us any clue yet. But just know, like, at any moment, little caveat to everything, you know, I don't want to risk too much on these kind of trades because they're unpredictable. And this kind of build can produce a huge move. You know, and maybe one that doesn't even make sense, like a gigantic wick to something or a certain area. That certain something or area could be POC, the VWAP. You don't know. That's why I keep this stop close. It's why I don't want to risk too much because you just don't know. Like, this is terrible price action. A gigantic wick blows through everything. And then they could just come all the way down here, wick it down here, and they come all the way right back up, put it right back into the range. You know, not unheard of. So we'll see. We'll just see. I'm not going to move my stop. Like I said, these are pretty small risk trades. I wouldn't really do much more. And frankly, I'm not going to go to my max budget on these trades. So I'm not going to risk $200 on a consolidated trade. It's just not really my thing. So I kind of convert to like play the small game with these and hope for lots of trades if we can get them, rather than just like one trade max risk. I do like a whole bunch at just one micro, and let's see how long this plays out. It's going to keep playing out until the chart says, nope, we're not going to play that game anymore. We're going to do something different. So, yeah, we just kind of hang tight. I don't get nervous. If it loses, it loses. You know, and I really prefer that these trades get finished quickly because I not my favorite trading, so I want to be like trading other style, other way. And as I look at gold, would that have given us anything? You know, it was moving so good, but now it's gold has dropped POC right in the middle of where price action is, and I think, oh yeah, it's so it's funny because gold had kind of similar to Nasdaq, where it was a drive down. It took it all the way down, and they start to move it back up, and they were really driving it back up good, and then they just stalled it right in the middle of the day. And they've been there for quite a while, and they moved the POC right to the middle of the day's action. So gold now is kind of doing the same thing. So maybe today we would have caught the same kind of price action on both NASDAQ and gold. But yeah, do they move the POC up here? We'll see. What does the volume look like today? Volume's actually not too bad. We've had MNQ up to this point has traded close to 620,000. That seems to be on par for lately what we've been seeing. Yeah. All right, let me start looking at some bigger charts and let's see what do we got. So 15-minute looks absolutely terrible. It gives us no information. 30-minute gives us really no information. The last 30-minute candle closed, big doji bar. We have to wait until this 30-minute closes to get some kind of idea of something. 1 hour, we know that closed a little bit on the bearish side, but buyers did buy it up from the low. So this candle is indecisive for me. It doesn't tell me too much. Now this current hour candle right now, I guess they're coming up. There's a price I marked here on the chart. You see it on the 5, the 15, and the 1 hour. This technically, maybe I got to get in closer to get it more exact. Yeah, I eyeballed it. Okay. That right there is the 50% of an imbalance created from this 1 hour move up. Now, 1 hour chart for me is kind of in the middle. Like, it's not really an imbalance that I would say I just look at to give me a clue of who's in control. I do look at 1 hour as being more of a reactionary area. So my expectation is this holds, that it doesn't just break and invert and sellers push through it. Now they can, I think in terms of if they're going to continue consolidation, I think this will hold and they'll push it back up. But if they break through this, the next destination's down here, which I already talked about on the 5-minute. So it all kind of matches up. My higher time frame analysis to the lower time frame. All you can do is see. So they're starting to give some indication that maybe we're going to finally get out of this consolidated garbage, but you really don't know until a candle closes, because you can start to get a feeling of maybe the sellers are starting to gain some control. But they have to show you. They have to show you on the chart. Before you put faith in breakout or, a trade, they really need to show you for sure who's in control. So right now what happened? They came down, they touched, this was 50% of the 1 hour imbalance. Little reaction off of it. This is also, funny enough, one of the targets for London, but it's so small, I don't put any value in it at all. So I'm going to take this off because they already touched it. So now what are they doing? Well, if they're going to keep this in consolidation, they're now in my buy zone. Buy zone to drive it back to the middle of the consolidated area I drew out. And that consolidated area I drew out was just the bodies of the 5-minute, because I didn't really have anything to go on with the 15, and on the lower time frame, it was a mess. So we'll just see. I'm no fear on this. This is sticking to rules of adapting, trying to trade consolidated areas. Are they risky? Yeah, they are. That's why I'm not risking a whole lot. And we'll just see. We'll see how this plays out. It gives you good clues too, like watching this lower time frame. Right now, I'm more focused on the 15-minute and the 5-minute, because we get candle close here in about a minute. All the other candles we still have too much time on, so I can't really put a whole lot of analysis on that. But right now, yeah, it looks like they're gonna maybe start to drive out of here and bring it down, but that's what it looks like right now with less than a minute left to go. We'll see if it continues that way. I'm gonna be probably pretty quick on trying to take a sell. Now this one, if they take my stop, then in my mind, the consolidation areas need to go. I'm gonna adapt and say, yep, consolidation in my mind is probably done. But if this candle on the 5 minute doesn't take my stop and it does work its way back into this consolidated area, then that's the game we have to play. And what were they doing? They're just wicking into this extended zone to bring it back into consolidation to continue dropping volume up here. So it's kind of my thesis, my idea. So right now, and another thing we can look at, but we have a little too much time until this finishes, is the 30-minute. You have this imbalance on the 30-minute. Right now, still a lot of time, but right now, if the candle was to close like this, they did not take the whole thing. They came close, but not quite. And they're right about at the 50% of that 30-minute imbalance. So 15-minute, kind of the same story. There's lots of lines in here. So this right here, I'll mark it out. Right here is the 50%. Oh, it's crooked. 50% of the 15-minute imbalance that was created, this big push. It came down, they engaged it. Now they're starting to push out. If they do hold and react from here, my expectation is still in the momentum of up. And where would a target be if we weren't? I have to consider a few things. If we're still in consolidation, I want my target to be the middle point. If we're out of this consolidation mess, then I would look, this was just a normal trade, I would look at my target as up here, because the movement of the market, looking a little more short term, is up. And yes, they've come to the high of this area and challenged the body of the candle, but not the actual Globex high. That still holds. And wow, they came close. So either this is a clue that they can't take the high, they're going to move it down. But this price action can also be a clue that sometimes if they can't take the high, they need to bring it down a little bit, try to get the sellers involved so that they can overtake the sellers and push it to the new high. So, it's just really watching the charts and trying to analyze everything, it's building a story for me as to why I'd want to take a trade. Does it always work? Am I super expert? No. I show everything, win or loss, on these trades. I'm just trying to explain what's going through my head as I'm watching candles move and what they're doing. And for me, I don't really want to take like any trades while candles are developing. I'm always looking at candle close. What did the candle do when it closed? Because if you start getting into the thoughts of, well, I'll take a trade on a higher time frame, like 1 hour or 30-minute, as it's still developing in the hour. And maybe when you take that trade, the candle looks like, oh my God, it's super bullish. But then by the time the candle closes, it's completely opposite and bearish. And sometimes that can happen with minutes left. And that's why I've learned to be a little more patient, and take trades when candles close. Then you can evaluate a little bit better, direction that you're thinking. Because for me, this 15-minute right here, this 15-minute closed out of London range. They did bring it down into about the 50% of Europe. Now, I'm really not even going to think about this London range because it's so small. It just doesn't hold a whole lot of value. But this candle move out does show me that, sellers did win this battle in here. But overall, we got ways to go. I think these sellers in here, at least on the 15-minute chart, for me, oh geez, I did that weird circle thing again. Down here, like the sellers got to get down here for me to say sellers are really starting to push momentum in their direction. Because for me, between this circle up here, this interest area up here on the 15-minute, this up here, this down here, everything else is in the middle. And what do you get in middle? Subway. Sometimes it's small subway, sometimes big subway. And it's a mess. So, but we'll see what happens. So, all right, we had 5-minute candle close. What did it do? Did it give us any information, any clues? Well, one clue for me is the sellers pushed it down, trying to keep moving it down. This is right here. This candle is not a great candle that shows me a lot of selling strength. If anything, sellers did at one point have a huge move down. This was a solid black candle down, right? And then the buyers engaged right here, brought it right back up, and it closed there. So I look to the next candle, buyers control. But this candle doesn't tell me a whole lot if the buyers truly are back. One thing it did do is they did get back above this 50% of Europe's range, just barely closed it above. So what are the areas I'm interested in on the 5-minute to kind of give me a little bit better clue as to short-term move? Right here, obviously, sellers can come back down and close below here with a body close. Then my expectation is go to the low down here. If the buyers can get above here, right? Because this is where this move started. These buyers come up, they challenge, they close, body close above here. Then my expectation switches to two places. One here. It's really bad because it's such a small London range, but it is the 50%. So I do have to keep that in mind. 2 is the close of yesterday, sitting there. 3 up here, which is the move that the sellers really tried to push this down. Is this a super good, clean push down? No, it's ugly. They started strong, and then they kind of lost steam in here, right? Big candle push down, another good solid push down, and then they throw a doji out. They can't close this. And then it takes a doji. Buyers kind of gave half-hearted effort here. Sellers did push down. Yes, they did close below the body of this candle. But as of right now, the momentum down didn't really show itself too strong, like this candle right here doesn't really give me good feeling that sellers want to keep moving it down. And if in, let's see, about 1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute. See what the buyers do. with 1 minute left and about 6 minutes until the new hour, uh, we'll see. You know, do the buyers have the strength to regain and push, or do the sellers gain control and make a big move? All you can do is wait and see. I'm just managing my trade, my risk. If it works, cool. If it doesn't work, cool. It doesn't matter to me. I'm sticking to my rule and what I planned. So nothing moves. My target can move closer or farther away, right? That's the one thing that I can move. But when I want to say when I say nothing moves, my sell stop doesn't move, right? I'm not going to drag it down here. If anything, I have another entry down here. I'm not taking this going all the way down here, because if I did that, my $40 risk trade, let's get the right tool. The $40 risk trade goes to, this will be down here, 135. And that's not the game I'm playing. So I'm playing that we stay in consolidation. Right now, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So, but yeah, this is kind of messy area right now because sellers kicked it down, buyers brought it back up, sellers brought it back down, and this was like, showed good buying strength here. They pushed it all the way up. At one time, this was pretty much a solid green candle. And then the sellers that are right here defending, they pushed it right back down. So about 4 minutes left until the new hour. And what do I know about the new hour? Well, it can get dicey at the new hour. New hour probably going to show us, hopefully, some kind of momentum in a direction or a reversal. We'll see who has control going into the new hour. But all you can do is probably watch this more on lower time frame if you want to get any kind of clue of maybe what's happening. So, all right. And this new hour candle close should give us some good information, because we're going to have a new 1 hour candle. And it'll be interesting to see if this holds or not. We don't know. They wick through that imbalance. But we need to see, where does this candle close? If this 1 hour candle closes below the imbalance, then next destination, I believe, is down here. So we'll have to look at that. I already talked about, watching and trying to have an entry. If it moves slow enough and I can get in, I'll take that trade. It won't be a consolidation trade, so that would be a little bit more risk for me. Probably, I don't know, 2, 3, or 4 micro contracts on that trade. I'd be willing to do more of my $200 budget on that one. 30-minute, it's hovering at the 50% of the imbalance on the 30-minute. I'm going to go ahead and take this off, because that was like my junk zone, no trade area when we were first talking. 15-minute, still showing, strength to the downside here, but it's ugly. I mean, it's like all these doji bars in here. Stupid. Really stupid. Everything before London and Europe was really nice moves and good candles and clean action, and things have fallen apart in Europe and London. So, all right, we'll get ready for the new candle. We'll see what happens. I kind of measured this out on the 5-minute. I think that's going to be my better opportunity to watch on the 5-minute. Let's see. So my target, let's zoom in. Let's make sure my target's right. Yeah, it needs to be a little lower. 49s will be my target on the sell. If the market kicks in and goes into sell mode, 449 going to be a target. How many ticks? I'm looking on that. It's like 90. Okay, I'll keep the same 25, 25. And let's go. What I'm doing is I'm planning out like next trade. Try to, we'll say two. I'm gonna have two queued up, two contracts queued up, ready to take a sell if direction in market kick through this and push it down. All right, so here we go. Here's new hour. Let's see what happens. The 5-minute candle, by the way, didn't give me any information. No body close below the buyers here. But we'll see what the reaction is. And, you know, it could very well be a wick, take me out, move it right back up, which would make the sell even harder because, you know, that puts that at risk too. But if I'm going to take this sell, where would I want to put my stop? I think my stop's got to go right around, let me mark it in orange. My stop's going to be pretty much right above this action. Because honestly, if I take a sell and the buyers are able to get back in control and push it back into this area, I don't think they would stop here. They'd probably just keep pushing it up. So I don't want to risk too much on a sell because let's see, let's price it out again. Put it over here and see what I'm looking at. 109 versus 89. It's close to 1-to-1. The risk reward on that. I would highly anticipate if the sellers can push through and get down here that there's some kind of reaction push back up. So I don't know if I'd look to drive it too much lower than this target. If I enter a couple contracts in here for sell, I'm going to look to take target right there. Because that would have also been a buy entry for me from that area. I think if sellers can get moving and they get down to here, I could be a point of reaction, or at least, you know, this gap could stall and they go sideways, which may give me an opportunity to come in with more contracts. We'll just have to see. We just let it play out. This is only one micro, risking 40 to make 40. No fear, no emotion, sticking to my rules. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And that's what we do. We go with. All right. So let me go down. Let's get into this 5-minute chart here because, you know, if new hour really wants to drive this down, where's a good entry point? Because remember, I don't take breakouts, right? Now I do think the price gets down here, but maybe I have to look for something on the 1 minute chart as maybe entry. Or I have to look like maybe 2-minute. You know, I don't mind. It's hard to see in there. Around 77, 78, maybe entry down. It's going to have to come back to me. 78s. Yeah, all right. So my plan, 78. On 5-minute, 77. Okay. All right, that's my plan. They take me out. I got, okay, so that was a loss. All right. So let's see if they push through here, or if maybe my my consolidation area was too small. I drew. Let's just see what happens, right? So now if I'm going to take a sell, I got to see this 5-minute candle close at least minimum below that area, right? If buyers come in and they push this 5-minute close up here, it's going to be a no-go for me. And I'm just going to say they took my stop by a tick, and that's it. If these sellers in 4 seconds hold this candle down, I'm going to have a sell entry. Okay, here we go. I have a sell entry here. Now I've changed my mode just a little bit. Yeah, I know the sellers couldn't get out of this zone I drew. And maybe this zone holds and they just took me by a tip. All right. So I talked about my stop is here. My target is here. Okay. That's my trade. Now we manage it. I know this is going to be risk of how much? 88 bucks. $88, right? It's kind of a 1-to-1. We'll manage this one. If they get down into this area and it starts to look bad and they start reacting out of it and the buyers step back in, then I might want to move my stop to break even. Because I mean, I really don't want to give back everything, especially if I start to get more into profit. I don't want to just let the price come all the way back up and hit me. Now, a couple things going in my favor. Recent price action on 5 minutes showing down. I really, really want to see them close beyond this block of action that I was going to take consolidated trades in. I really want to see it close below that, right? That would give me a little bit of confidence that they continue down. The good thing is we're 6 minutes into the new hour, and so far the track has been down, right? And usually after a good, 5 minutes or so in the new hour, if we start to track one way, your chances become better. We're going to continue that way, at least to the half-hour point. Which, yeah, you could probably throw that out in consolidation. But I'm kind of counting that the sellers can get control here. They've already had one good push down, right? Next challenge point for sellers to get to, in my mind, is going to be down in this area. But right now, where my target is, would have been an entry. Why do I like this target down here? Well, it's also value area high right now. And I know that can be a magnet. So we're going to watch. We're going to watch and see what happens. So this is looking really bad for my trade because they did hold this consolidation area. So we're going to see, is this little push up just, them inducing buyers to come back in based on this idea, and then the sellers slam it down, or do the buyers gain control and they throw it right back up here in consolidation? We don't know. And just like my last trade, nothing moves on my stop. My stop is built in here. If I want to move it, it's got to come down lower. So, I could move it from here to here to reduce some risk, but it's not a lot of risk. It's only 88. I really just want to let this kind of play out and see. If anything, I'm not going to move my target, especially at this point. If anything, I'd move my stop maybe down to, a break even or a little bit of profit if the price starts to move down towards here. All right, let's take a peek while that's kind of working. Let's see what the price is doing here. A 15-minute You know, it really hasn't shown us anything else other than just more sideways, more horrible price action. But the price action that's bad has moved a little lower. Let's see, 30-minute. You know, that really didn't tell us much either, unfortunately. Um, I wish the 30-minute would have closed with a much better strong candle down, and it didn't. So that's unfortunate. Let's look at the 1 hour. So, like I said, this is the new 1 hour. Um, you know, the 1 hour does show some strength down, but you know, overall, recent we're moving up. We still haven't hit the high today. You know, that could happen. They drive this back in. We're right back into consolidation. They hit the stop. Then, you know, if you want to play the consolidation game, probably going to have to move these boxes out. But I don't really feel like um, the consolidation game now for me has changed a little bit with this move down here. I think it's more of a coincidence. I think that the price reacted from right there. You know, like I feel like the sellers should have drove it down lower. They didn't. So we'll just see what happens. Like I don't want to with this kind of price action in wiki type candles and sideways. Um, I don't want to take on a ton of risk. So either the sellers are here and they push this back down and protect, or you know this is a buyer's move and they start to gain control again. But from my original consolidation area, we're back in it. Outside of this green box up, we're back in the consolidation area, which at that point means it's junky, it's bad, it can go anywhere. And we'll just see. But this is probably my last trade for the day. If it wins or loses, I don't care. I've already planned it out. I have my plan. I stick to my plan. I don't move my stop. I take the loss. I look to make it back later with trades in New York. I will stay with you until we see does this win or lose, and hopefully we get some kind of indication sooner than later. So yeah, if I'm wrong and the sellers don't come back in here, you know, I prefer to be like done with the trade quickly. What I don't like is the sideways subway in a different area, and then you're wondering for a long time, um, you know, are things going to work out or not? And usually, the longer you get that sideways build, the greater the chance that they just wick both sides and you're done. So I've been in a few marathon trades in London, right at the London Open, and 6 hours later, you get wicked out, and then it goes to your target. So, um, yeah, I guess that's just the game. You just got to play it. So we'll see. See what happens. All right. So they took that out. All right. So that's two trades, two losers. You know, I feel like our analysis was good. Um, you know, am I interested in playing this game in the middle again? Nope. So what I would do is I would just walk away because it's unpredictable. It could come right to this middle and hang out there again until New York, or it continues to go up. But same information, same thing could happen up here as down here, where they come up and they kind of wick this area out, and you're thinking it's going to keep driving up and out, and they bring it right back down, right? So Am I mad that the trades didn't work? Nope. You know, do I wish they would have worked? Yeah, but I can't get emotional either way because I'm sticking to my rules, and my rules say this is how I'm trading. So hopefully, even though I take losses, it's good to see the analysis. But sometimes you're more of a victim of just bad consolidated price action. And if they want to keep it in an area, the moves will be unpredictable. So, okay. And I always forget, but if you watch this video, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe, a like, put some comments in, what you'd like for me to like take a look at with trading. I don't mind, kind of delving into some other areas, or if there's some things that you want me to talk about more, I can do that. So, and if you found this valuable, and you're looking to get a new evaluation or account directed funded, you use my codes. I'd really appreciate it. It helps support me for the 2.5 to 3 hours I spend on the London Open, on the live in the market. Wish we could have got a couple wins today, but I'm fine either way. Stayed to my rules, stayed in my budget. But yeah, find it valuable. Use a code. Really help me out. Help support me for sharing all this with you. So thank you for your time. Thanks for joining me today. We will see you tomorrow, and hopefully we get a better market tomorrow, and we'll be good to go. So, bye everybody. Do widzenia. Have a super day, and good luck trading later this afternoon if you trade New York. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.